Crimson Moon Evocations is the third full-length album from Sepulchral Curse, a Turku, Finland-based blackened death metal band who focus much more on almost a melodic black death metal style on this record. It is a little bit of a paradigm shift for the group that we've kind of seen coming as the two main guitarists and composers really focus in on their own sound here as they sort of focus out of the exuberance of their first record, the brutality of the second, and now this melodic brutality that we find on the third. I would describe this record as something that is monolithic in its force. They all move at once as they pound through a lot of these major rhythms. They're characterizing rhythms that you'll pick up on pretty quickly. And you can tell this is a band that's developed this style over the course of at least a decade because they're kind of ready for this record. It's very well produced. It's ready to go in terms of its urgency, and they don't really waste a moment of it despite its melodic focus. Going through their discography, you'll find there were kind of two minds working together and against each other on the first record. A lot of their early releases weren't sure what they wanted to be, and then they figured it out. It means that what was really birthed on the second album, Abhorrent Dimensions, in 2022 is exaggerated here. So before I go too far into detail on what this record is, we'll cut to a song here and get a sense for how it sounds and really get the impetus for why this is such an interesting record. So the big shift here is probably the more melodic focus. While there was some of that on Abhorrent Dimensions, here we find something closer to early Sulphur Aeon or Intestine Ballism's Banquet in the Darkness, where there's a lot of heavier brutality in the drumming, much more blasted focus, but there's also movement around that. And this is not such consonant and beauteous melodic death metal in terms of its rhythms, and its leads especially not, but they bring it together with some black metal influences and force put into the brutality of it. So it's a little bit more blunt than expected. It is not as aggressive and loud as the second record, but every production from this band and every time they're on record, they definitely record it extra loud. It does hit immediately when they show up. This wasn't really my kind of thing at first when I picked it up, because I was thinking, like, a band like Stortrain, they're melodic, but they're brutal, they're technical, and there's some sterility that comes with that in terms of production values. And this manages to be a warm but aggressive record. It's definitely not one that is clattering in a deafening way, but it does have a voice, and a central voice, which centers around leads and the lead vocalist and the way they develop different conversations on the darker subject matter here. So there is something that is ruthless about this record that helps it stand out. They still have that brutal character to their approach, even though this is a record that is very much introducing their more melodic side. And so there's a loud, deranged vision happening here that is entertaining to me as a fan of both the type of death metal they're kind of leaning into here, as well as the more melodic blackened death metal whatnot that they find adding to the atmosphere and movement of the record overall. So they've struck an interesting balance, and it's not what I expected going in, but it's something that I think was particularly strong as a listening experience and just as repeatable and enjoyable as their last several records. So Sepulchral Curse are definitely still on their own thread, and it's something that does feel like it's even more their own on this record. But I think this should be more approachable. It should be less dense with ideas and more of a presentation that most fans of death metal will be able to appreciate, especially if you lean a little bit on the melodic side in the past or present. Check this out for yourself. It releases on February 28th, and go ahead and read my review for more coherent, in-depth thoughts.